Chicken satay. There are so many intense flavors for this chicken, and when it's grilled to perfection, there's barbecue, and then there's Southeast Asian barbecue. Hey everyone, I'm Flo, Dude is behind the camera, and we're all about simple food, simple faith. It's been unusually warm here in Vancouver, and it reminds us of our time in Malaysia, where there's so many good eats at the hawker stalls. So today we are making Malaysian chicken satay. You know that most of the time I can't be bothered with a whole lot in terms of prep when cooking, but sometimes when you're just looking for that flavor, you got to do the extra work. So today we're doing a step-by-step on making the paste for the marinade, as well as the peanut sauce for the chicken. And I'm starting off with my chilies, and I'm putting on some gloves because when working with hot chilies, you really want to, make sure that you get all of the oils and stuff off your fingers. So working with gloves actually is best. I have 5 chilies soaking in warm water, and they've been soaking for maybe about an hour. I don't think you need to soak them for that long, but that's just how long it's taken. So I am just going to open them up and remove the seeds and the membrane from the inside. And we're just gonna kind of keep the skin for our sauces.
Oh, there's a whole lot of fire inside there.
Yeah, let's remove that. So funny story, I had, I don't know if you all follow my Facebook posts, but some squirrels had been going through my garden and digging stuff up. So I decided to sprinkle crushed chili everywhere. And recently I started to notice all these things growing, and I'm like, what is that? They're everywhere. Yep, I have chili plants growing everywhere now.
Accidental chili plants.
Yep. Okay. So I'm just going to set these aside and do the rest. Okay, so that's what the chili looks like now. And if you want to use more chili, you're more than welcome. We are using 1 for the marinade and 4 for the peanut satay sauce. Next, let me talk about the lemongrass. So lemongrass usually comes in huge long stalks, right? But this is the way I've been seeing them packaged lately. So it's in here along with the tops, but sometimes I find that there are a lot of tops and only a couple of bottoms. And that's not good because you want the bottom, not the tops. So make sure that when you're buying your lemongrass, if it comes prepackaged like that, that you have several of the bottoms. I'm just gonna peel off the first layer, the top layer, and then give them a wash. Oh, they smell so good. Trimming off just the ends, very little. So we only want to use basically the white parts. So they only go up to about here. And I'm going to chop them up before I put them in my food processor because they're really hard to chop up. So the smaller you get them, the easier it is in the food processor. So 3 stalks are going in the marinade, and I've already chopped up the other 2 that will go into the satay sauce. I have 10 shallots altogether. 6 are going into the marinade, 4 are going into the sauce. I will chop them up all at once so that I don't have to do it again later. And these are just small shallots, so I'm just gonna kind of have them, throw them into the food processor. And if you can't find shallots, you can always use pearl onions. All right, I need 6 cloves of garlic total. 2 is going into the marinade, and 4 is going into the sauce. And don't forget, 1 chili is going in there. Okay. I'm just going to scrape it down because there's some chunks at the top. That didn't get processed. And if you don't have a food processor, it really is a lot of work. So I guess back in the olden days, they just used a mortar and pestle. They chopped up as much as they could, and then they just ground the rest. All right, that's good enough. I have 2 pounds of chicken thighs here that I'm going to cut up into about 1.5 inch pieces. And if you don't like chicken thigh, you can use chicken breast. It's really up to you. Right, now put all your chicken into a mixing bowl and pour in all of the paste. I guess it's kind of like a paste. Don't leave any of it behind. Adding to this 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoon salt. I'm using kosher salt. 2 teaspoons of ground coriander. And if you have whole coriander and you don't have ground, you can always put the seeds in with the rest of the ingredients to process in the food processor. Two teaspoons of turmeric.
Look at all that great color.
I know, right? 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Then mix all of this up. And we're going to let this marinate for at least 30 minutes covered in the fridge. And you can do this overnight. However long you have would be great, because the longer you let it marinate, the more flavorful the chicken is going to be. And if you want, you can always just freeze it and thaw it for another day. And that would be really yummy too. Moving on to the satay peanut sauce now. I'm using a tamarind pulp. We actually have access to fresh tamarind here, but I found that, well, first of all, it's a huge package, and I have to pull all of the pulp off the seeds and before I soak them. And I found it really messy, and I also didn't need all that tamarind. So I bought a package of this so that I can use it sparingly instead of having to buy fresh, and then I don't know what to do with it after that. I'm using about a heaping tablespoon's worth, so I don't know, maybe like this. Just mushed it down a little bit. I'm adding a 1/4 cup of water. And we're just gonna let this soak. And we're gonna use the juice from here and squeeze out the pulp afterwards. Okay, setting this aside. All right, if I had the foresight, I would have ground my peanuts first so I didn't have to rinse and wash the food processor. But in any case, I did rinse it after all of that grinding of wet ingredients. So I have about 1.5 cups. It's about 200 grams or so of roasted peanuts. You should try to use the unsalted. Unfortunately, I purchased the salted by mistake, but also I think that was all that was there. And you want the skins removed as well. And I bought it with the skin on, but they're easy to remove because I just put them in a tea towel, rub them, and all the skin falls off. So because I used salted peanuts, I won't add any salt to my satay sauce. Oh, that smells really good too. Can you imagine? Just all these flavors are coming together, dude. Okay, so we're just gonna set this aside, put it back in the same bowl. And this texture that's gonna be in the sauce, I can already taste it. Also using a very small piece of galangal, and I also bought dried. We also have access to it being fresh, but again, you have to buy this big package, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it afterwards. Using dried, I can just soak it in water and kind of bring it back to life. And if you don't have galangal, you can't find it or have access to it, ginger is kind of close, but it is not the same at all. But you could use ginger, leave it out. You probably wouldn't be able to tell with all the amazing flavors. But I'm just gonna slice it up so that it's easier to get through the food processor.
Watch your fingers, dude.
I know. I soaked it for quite some time too, so it's been maybe at least an hour. That should be good. All right, so back to the food processor. We have 4 small shallots cut in half, 2 stalks of lemongrass chopped, 4 cloves of garlic, the turmeric, not turmeric, the galangal, 4 chilies. And again, if you want more, be my guest. I'm just gonna pulse to get it started. And turn it on. Added about a 1/4 cup of oil. Because you really do want this to be more paste-like. You know, this recipe was one of the first Malaysian recipes I ever tried to make, and that was during dude in my courtship when I was trying to impress him. But he never got to taste it back then because we lived in different cities, and I tested it on all my friends instead.
The irony is you're trying to impress your boyfriend who is
not there.
Not there. I was not impressed.
All right, remember the tamarind? So we're going to squeeze out the pulp and just keep the juices. So this is what you're removing. There are like seeds and pulp in there, and you just want this, which is like a paste. Okay, heating up a saucepan on medium. And remember, we added a bunch of oil to the paste, so I'm not going to add any more oil to it. As soon as that's heated up, we'll add the paste. Okay, I am using a silicone spatula, not rubber. Rubber will burn and melt, so don't do that. I'm gonna cook this for a couple of minutes till you start to smell the fragrance of the paste. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. I'm gonna turn it down to medium-low, adding the tamarind paste. Let's stir that in. Okay, adding water a little bit at a time. 3/4 cups total. You want to be stirring constantly as well. Okay. We're going to let this simmer for about 5 minutes. Then you don't have to stir during this time of simmering. But any large chunks of whatever, like this is probably the galangal. I'm going to remove it because you don't want people biting into that. Okay, we're just going to let that simmer for 5 minutes. All right, so you also see the oil kind of separating. That's what you want to see as well, that the oil is sitting on top. And you can simmer it longer if you like, if you want it a bit thicker, but remember you're still adding peanuts, so that will add to the texture as well. So I think for me, this is the right texture. If you were using unsalted peanuts, then add about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm also adding about a teaspoon of coriander, ground coriander, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of ketchup manis. Finally figured out how to pronounce it. So 1 tablespoon. It is a sweet, dark soy sauce that is often used in Southeast Asian cooking. And it's kind of thick and molasses-like. Okay, just stirring that in. And adding the peanuts. And that, my friends, is satay sauce. Turning off the heat. All right, we're gonna transfer this to a bowl and let it cool down to room temperature. And then we will cook our chicken and serve it with the sauce. I soaked about 12 skewers in a glass of water for at least 2 hours. And I'm just going to put the chicken on here. And probably about 3 to 4 pieces each. You want to soak your skewers because you don't want them to burn while they're cooking, while the meat is cooking or on the grill. So I'm using about 1 thigh per skewer. You for sure are not going to get that in a restaurant. But it's up to you. You can make them smaller or larger. Just adjust your cook time accordingly. All right. I'll just get these started. All right. Turning on my butane burner because I don't have a grill, hint, hint, dude. Anyways, we have this grill pan that we also take camping. And when your grill is hot enough, oil it the way you would normally. And just get your skewers on there. Turning them over. Oh my goodness, it smells so good, guys. I didn't soak them high enough and it's starting to burn now, see? All right, that took about 8 minutes, flipping occasionally, getting some brown charring on there. I've already turned off the heat, but this grill pan holds a lot of heat. Right, getting one ready for Dude, because I know you're all waiting for.
Oh yeah.
The taste. Malaysian Dude here once again. Thank you for making more Malaysian food. FLO'S. I miss the dining experience in Malaysia. You go to the collection of hawker stalls, you have the different foods, and one thing you definitely get aroma-wise, very distinct, is the satay vendors, because one is the charcoal aroma with the meat that's cooking on those grills, those barbecue grills, and the charcoal itself is just, it fills the air. So good. The aroma is so complex, and this is layers upon layers of flavors and textures. This has already been pre-dipped. It's a bit thick, so I'm gonna get some more from the bowl here with a spoon. And the texture is entirely up to you. Flo, how would you make the sauce more liquidy?
Add more water.
Wow, that was difficult.
So instead of boiling off as much water, you can start with a little bit more and still simmer it for 5 minutes, but just add more water to begin with.
And I'd imagine if you were to treat all the ingredients with the Vitamix, everything would be a little bit more liquefied.
Oh
but
yeah, for sure.
Again, personal preference, and experiment with your food. Here I go. Oh, wow. Dude, explosion of flavor. So good, must have more, cannot resist. Oh, the meat, bite into it, so flavorful, so tender. The micro bits of lemongrass, shallots, all the ingredients, the taste. Oh, I got the heat, intense flavor, lots of layers. The sauce, the peanuts, good. And more flavor in that as well from the aromatics and whatnot. I'd imagine on your Weber or whatever you got going, or your charcoal, it's gonna add even more deep flavors. So this is not your average, just put some salt and pepper and grill it. This is like next level, or should I say next level, so awesome, good.
Thanks, dude. You definitely get way more at home than you would in a restaurant. Maybe even, dare I say, at the street hawker stalls. But it's not hard to make. It's just a little bit more work to get all of those explosion of flavors. It is just so worth it. For more Malaysian flavors, check it out. I will see you over there.